Hey everyone, it's Paul from Alexander and Knife Sharpening, and let's talk about doing your first Japanese knife. So, I remember when I did my first Japanese knife, and I think it was the very first one I think I did was a global. And back then I was working with just one Tormek machine. I was working with the standard Tormek stone, which is an actual water stone wheel that can be graded for 250 grit or 1,000 grit. And I was blown away by how much grinding I was having to do, and I wasn't getting a burr. And I thought, man, am I doing something wrong? Is it me? Is there something off here? And I was nervous, and that's common too. A lot of people, when they get their first Japanese knife in, are a little nervous. Because why? Well, because we know they're expensive. So, and this is a Shun, and we're talking, $200. Same with globals. You're looking at knives that are in the $200 range. And I remember being nervous when I got my first one in. So what I'm going to say to you is a little bit of nervousness is good because, granted, it's an expensive knife and you don't want to mess up somebody's expensive knife. But what you're going to probably find out pretty quickly is that these are a real joy to work with. And they're awesome. And so my fear over time actually turned into a love and appreciation of Japanese cutlery. And I absolutely love fixing, repairing, and sharpening Japanese knives. So I understand your fear. Don't be scared. One of the reasons you don't have to be scared is that they're super well made. They're really hard metal, so it's more easy to make a mistake on a German knife, in my opinion, than it is a Japanese knife. So your Japanese knives get their damage from what? People dropping them, misusing them on how they cut them. So like this particular Shun that I'm looking at here has lots of little microchips in its bevel. Very common for a Shun that hasn't been sharpened in a long time and may have been left in some water and maybe not treated perfectly. But in general, don't be afraid. They're very forgiving. Since they're super hard steel, it's going to take a while to sharpen it, especially if you don't have, like I do, like if you don't have CBN or diamond, you're going to be there for a bit, which might be why you want to consider faster sharpening methods and things like that. There's nothing wrong with bringing it to a 1x30. When I have a Shun like this, and I'm going to sharpen this one here in a few minutes, so I'll probably film the whole thing. I'm going to bring this to the 1x30. Now, I could do it on a 200 grit stone. I could do it on something a little more aggressive. This one's so chipped, though, I'm going to go with 120 grit Kubitron belt and not the 200 grit CBN wheel. I'm going to go with the 120 grit Kubitron belt. It's going to be a little bit faster for me to get this cleaned up, thinned out, and prepared for going back to its customer. So don't be afraid. You will eventually learn to love these things and really appreciate that they come in your shop. You can make more money off them. Okay, I charge $10 for a regular Western knife. I charge $12 for a Japanese knife. I charge more money for repairing Japanese knives because they take more time. They're harder metal. It's more time grinding, and it's a little more work. So even though you might be a little scared, don't be too scared, because in a short period of time, you're going to learn to love these things. And I absolutely love when really high-end knives come in my shop. And I recently sharpened a Bob Kramer pair of knives. And I'm not talking Bob Kramer Wusthof edition. I'm talking Bob Kramer actual handmade knives from Bob Kramer's shop, worth easily $8,000. So, you know, you will reach a point as you become more and more comfortable with your sharpening and your skill level, the fear will go away. And then you get kind of excited. So when someone brings me $1,000 Japanese knife or an $8,000 Japanese knife, I'm just excited to get my hands on it and sharpen it. And eventually you will be too. So the fear's not a bad thing. You should be a little concerned in the beginning. Like I said, you don't want to mess up somebody's expensive knife, but you will realize that they're a joy to work with. They cut unbelievably, and Japanese cutlery is just awesome, and there's a reason it's great, and they're also great to work on.